My friends, the day when the memorandum was buried is not over yet, and the night now has brought more than the whole morning did. In the last few hours, the President of the United States sent a very tough message, do you know to whom? To Oman, the most discreet mediator we can say in the Middle East, with a swear word in the middle of the sentence during an interview on the biggest TV network in America. And the real target of that sentence wasn't Oman, we get the message, and soon you'll understand why. In the same breath, Trump confirmed with his own words that there is a secret communication channel between the United States and Iran's Revolutionary Guard. And hours later, the Revolutionary Guard called the American president a delusional liar. One of them is definitely lying right in front of the whole world. And I'm going to show you here what adds up and what doesn't. This is the movement of American tanker planes at this very moment. About an hour ago, more or less, 4 tanker planes took off from Israel heading toward the Gulf, but they turned off their transponders. Could something big be happening tonight in that region? Because this kind of movement isn't normal today. Okay, it's not normal. Remember, the memorandum has ended, right? The memorandum ended early this morning at midnight. There's no more memorandum of understanding, and there's no, right? We can put it this way, there's no ceasefire at all. Meanwhile, a high-ranking Iranian official opened up to Reuters about a shift in doctrine that changes the meaning of everything that could happen from now on. And he even gave the United States a deadline of a few weeks, in a statement that also has something absurd hidden in it. And right after midnight last night, 2 explosive drones launched from Iranian territory fell on the leadership of the Kurdish region of Iraq. And by nightfall, Tehran denied everything and even said it was a setup. And in the middle of this chaos, a headline started making the rounds worldwide. The British newspaper, The Telegraph, reportedly revealed that Trump is considering using the most powerful weapon there is against Iran. And I stopped everything after I read this little piece of news that came out on Telegram. I stopped everything I was doing, went to check this headline thoroughly, and what I found, especially the detail that no one shared, you noticed, right? You didn't notice, you didn't dig deep enough. Save it for the end of this live, because it's a lesson on how lies travel really fast in times of crisis. The whole board shifted between lunch and dinner, and those who only read the headline ended the day knowing less than those who didn't read anything at all. Live from Israel, right from where everything is happening, organizing the chaos of information for you guys. Go ahead and leave your like now, check if you're subscribed, and turn on the notification bell. Today is the kind of day, folks, where the news changes completely between one live and the next. Let's get started now. Those who were with me on the live earlier this morning already know the magnitude of what expired at midnight. What was it that expired, right? What was the deadline that ended at midnight, and what was being put together behind the signing of that memorandum of understanding? I'm not going to repeat anything from that previous video. I want you, if you haven't watched that video, to watch it, because I talk about what just expired, what deadline ended. And what I'm going to show you now is how the rest of the day responded quickly to this. It starts here with the strangest news of the night. A quick 30-second lesson, just for those who just arrived. Oman, my friends, Oman is a country, okay? It's Iran's neighbor on the other side of the Strait of Hormuz. The strait runs there, squeezed between the coast of Iran on one side and the tip of Oman on the other. And Oman has built a reputation as a silent mediator, decades acting as a bridge between enemies, with long-standing ties to the Americans and also to the British, without ever appearing in the picture. So, this is the country of Oman. It's right here in the corner of the map, right here, look. This here is Oman. It's a country that wasn't very well known. A long time ago, nobody even talked about the existence of this country, right? Now it has become the center of everything. Practically, both it and Pakistan itself. I think people already knew much more about Pakistan and less about Oman itself. But now you already know what it's about, right? What is Oman really? So today Iran announced that it reached an understanding with Oman to resume navigation in the strait. The spokesperson for the Iranian Foreign Ministry said the following. Both sides are finalizing the details before releasing a joint statement, end quote. What does this mean in practice? Iran is trying to reopen Hormuz on its own, without depending on the United States, in an arrangement between itself and Oman, without Americans at the table. If this plan moves forward, the regime turns the reopening, at least on its side of this strait, into an Iranian concession. That's what they're trying to set up. The ones who closed the strait in front of the world now become the ones who had the kindness to reopen it. That's what they want to sell to the world. That's when Trump got involved in the subject this morning in an interview with Fox News, and his message about this agreement between Iran and Oman came right after. Look, just listen to what he said, folks. Trump being Trump once again, right? He said the following: if Oman gets in the way, we are going to smash Oman, okay? I'm trying to make it sound a bit softer here. In the original, there are curse words like Trump always uses in the middle, right? But I'm not going to repeat that curse word here, but that's what he said. We're going to smash Oman. And at the end of the day, already close to the evening, a reporter went back to what happened with that threat and pressed him about it. He said, "This morning, you said you would smash Oman if they got in your way." And Trump's response was the following: "I don't think they are behaving well, but we deal with them." End quote. I should remind you that he has already threatened Oman in the past. It's been a long time. He has already threatened Oman that if Oman didn't take the American side, he would drop a bomb there. And now, Joao, sum up the whole day in just one picture. And I want to make it very clear as well, because there are a lot of people out there already trying to lump both things together. In the morning, I told you that the Iranian regime sent fighter jets armed with bombs against the country that was carrying Iran's messages. Remember Qatar. I said that this morning. That was meant to destroy a military base and the backbone of the neighbor's economy. And it only didn't end in continental disaster by just 2 minutes. They were 2 minutes from the target when they were shot down. What Trump did today was make a tough statement in an interview to prevent the regime from using the Strait, which the regime itself closed, as a bargaining chip. It's not the same thing, it's not on the same level, and it's not an arm-wrestling match between equals. On one side is the regime that attacks even those who try to help. On the other side is the power that has really cornered this regime and doesn't want to let it come out on top in any way. And maybe something will happen tonight in response to everything that's happening now. And here's the answer I promised at the beginning of this live stream. And this is my take, folks. My take, you can freely disagree in the comments. Local time 12:11. For those who think I'm AI, I'm not AI, folks. I'm real, okay? This isn't AI. The local time in Israel is 12:11 on the 18th. It's already the 18th. Here it changed up here, right? For those who have been following since the beginning, right, because of the time zone difference. If you're in Brazil, it's 6 or 7 hours behind Israel, and if you're in Europe, it's 1 hour behind. Anyway, you can disagree with what I'm going to say, okay? The threat was addressed to Oman, but the one who needed to hear this threat was Tehran. Trump will not allow the regime to sell to the world the reopening of the Strait as an act of Iranian generosity, because that would erase months of American pressure from the market's memory. And it's the market that controls everything, right, guys? The sentence about Oman is the warning. The gate only opens on the United States terms, or it doesn't open at all. And the rest of the interview continued in the same tone. Let's look here at the Strait of Hormuz while we talk. Look, the build-up continues here on the inside and on the outside with no movement in the Oman region. Just a little bit of ship movement here, a ship here, look, stopped here, practically stopped, it's barely moving. Let's see here, this ship is practically stopped, okay? And it's moving slowly. In other words, there is really not much movement in the Strait of Hormuz. He mentioned Iran, like someone talking about an opponent who's already down. This is what Trump said. He said the Iranians should raise the white flag. Okay? He said that too. And to surrender for good. He said that he acknowledged their skill at the table. He called the Iranians good poker players and added that despite that, they are dying. About his own schedule, he said that there is no timeline and that he is in no hurry. And he swore twice that the November election doesn't influence his thinking or how he's going to act from now on. And there was also a statement from Trump that went unnoticed in the summaries made by several channels, and it's a warning to both Iran and the market at the same time. He said that everything the United States has used so far in terms of weaponry is nothing. On the Iranian side, they'll say this is just bluffing from someone whose stockpile is running low. Right? Because everyone confuses the defense stockpile with the attack stockpile. It's not the same thing, folks. It's not the same thing. But listen to the context. It's the president responding, without mentioning any names, to everyone who spent weeks saying that American ammunition had run out. Remember that? I brought it up here several times for you. A lot of people get confused between the defense stockpile and the attack stockpile. They're two completely different things. And before wrapping up, he finished with 2 more things. The first, the United States does not intend to extend the Memorandum of Understanding. The memorandum is already over, folks. He won't extend it. The document is dead and will stay dead. The second came in a post this morning, and this one I prefer to read exactly as he wrote it. He said the following, that the number one goal is and always will be that Iran cannot have in any way a nuclear weapon. End quote. And look at the order of priorities, right? For weeks, the main topic stopped being, as we know, it stopped being the missiles, it stopped being the nuclear weapon, and became only about oil and shipping. Today, the nuclear issue is back at the top of Trump's list once again. And now comes the strangest part of this interview, and maybe the most important. Trump confirmed in no uncertain terms that there is a direct and secret communication channel between American officials and members of the Revolutionary Guard, folks. Not politicians, of the Revolutionary Guard. A channel that, from what he described, bypassed the mediators and even the Iranian politicians themselves. This was Trump who said it. Folks, Washington would be talking directly to the men with their fingers on the trigger, ignoring the men in suits. And Tehran's response took a while, we can say that, a few hours, and it came from the mouth of the spokesperson of the Revolutionary Guard itself. He declared the following. We deny Trump's claim that Washington is holding talks with senior officials of the Revolutionary Guard through a secret channel. There is no conversation between the Guard's leadership and the Americans. This lie spread by Trump is nothing more than a product of his imagination, born from delusions and nightmares because of defeat and impotence in the war. End quote. It's really getting ugly, folks. It's getting ugly. And the Iranian foreign ministry finished the job by denying another story about this that was also circulating today. The one about a secret meeting between Americans and Iranians in the city of Erbil. Remember the city of Erbil up in northern Iraq. So supposedly someone met there, right? The spokesperson called the news fabricated and made the point of adding that the negotiation team has the support of all sectors of the regime, especially the security sector. That was also reported today. Are you listening to the details here, folks? But no one had asked if the negotiation team has support for him. No one had asked that. When the spokesperson answers a question that no one asked, it's because the question is being asked internally. We need to understand, even within the statements, what he means. So that's the deadlock for tonight, folks. The American president states on national television that the negotiation channel exists. The Revolutionary Guard claims it's a delusion. One of them is lying, or they're talking about different things. And there is a third possibility, which to me is the most logical and the one that makes the most sense. And I want to highlight my interpretation here. The channel exists. This communication channel exists, but only with a part of the Revolutionary Guard. And the part that denies it is exactly the part that wasn't invited. In other words, someone inside the Revolutionary Guard is actually talking to him. You saw this morning that within this regime, the hand that signs is not the same hand that gives the order to shoot. So today's furious denial could be the noise of these two hands fighting in public. And then comes the Erbil chapter over in Iraq, folks, which ties all of this together in a way that almost no one is noticing, and it all makes sense. That's why you can't just read an article, an isolated article, and try to understand what's happening. You need to tie everything that's happening here together to try to make sense of it. And then we go around judging. Want to judge Trump, want to judge Netanyahu, want to judge Iran, only after truly understanding everything. You can't put the pieces together with isolated articles, folks. You just can't. Right after midnight, from yesterday to today, from the day before yesterday to today, I'll say from yesterday to today for you all, because another day has already passed here, 12:18, from yesterday to today, okay? Look, right after that, just around midnight, 2 drones loaded with explosives were launched from the Iranian side of the border against the Kurdish region of Iraq. The first one fell on the personal office of the head of the Kurdish government, Masroor Barzani. The second one headed toward the house of the head of the Kurdish intelligence service. There were no victims, at least. So far, nothing has been reported. The Kurdish counterterrorism unit tracked the launch. Barzani called it a dangerous escalation, and even the British consulate there in Erbil also issued a condemnation of this attack. And it was not an isolated incident in this region. On Friday, 3 drones had already been intercepted over the same city, and at night there was a response. Tonight, folks, there was a response from Tehran. And just watch the contortions in this response from Tehran. Let's put it here. You want to see the ship, right? The plane. Let's put it here for the planes. There you go. There are the American planes, once again, here in the Gulf region, right? No, they hadn't done this for many days, okay? They were monitoring this too, not like this. And some of them turned off their transponders. When they took off from here in Israel around 11 p.m., they should arrive in this region around 1 in the morning, more or less. It's about 3, 1, 1:30 in the morning, 2.5 hours of flight, depending on the location here, if it's in Kuwait or Bahrain. So there are more planes heading to this region. There might be an attack. The deadline is over. There's no more ceasefire. It's officially over. The 60 days are over, guys. They didn't reach any agreement. So anything can happen, yes, in the early hours, once again. And at night, as I just said here, the response from Tehran came about this story in Erbil. Look at this. The Iranian foreign minister declared that nothing justifies the irresponsible strike against Barzani's office, who is the leader there, Turkish. He warned his Kurdish friends against false flag operations designed to sow division among neighbors, and ended by reminding that Iran protected the Kurds from Saddam and from ISIS. What is a false flag, for those who don't know? It's an attack. He's saying here that the Americans themselves attacked these guys to try to put the blame on the Iranian side. That would be a false flag attack. Okay, that's what it's called. That's how we know this kind of attack. They're claiming that's what happened. But pay attention to what happens next. The regime fires at midnight. They deny it tonight, suggest it was a setup by third parties, and still present themselves as the historical protector of those they just attacked. They're hitting the Turks directly and say they're the protectors of the Kurds. This morning I showed you this pattern in 2 Gulf countries. And in those same early hours, it was already repeating in northern Iraq, as we are now seeing tonight, right? The confirmation only came throughout today. And now the question that matters. Why Barzani, who is the leader of the Kurds, and why now? And here, this is my interpretation again, okay, marked as interpretation. The Kurdish region has for months been the most mentioned place when it comes to discrete contact between Americans and Iranians. There are things happening in that region, folks. There's a lot going on. Let me show you where this is. Hold on. Where's the map? Let's put it here on this map, up here. Here, look. This happened here in this region of Kurdistan, okay? Up here, this way, all right? Let me see if I have the map from there. Well, it was here. Do you see the drones here? This was last night, okay? Early in the morning. This happened early in the morning. Take a look. When we talk about discrete contact, this region keeps coming up. The press also reported in May that the Kurdish leadership itself was tapped by the United States as a possible bridge to Tehran. Despite all the attacks, the secret meeting that the Iranian Foreign Ministry denied today would have happened exactly here in Erbil. Right at this point, look. This is where the secret meeting was supposed to take place. And what did Trump also say, right guys? He said there was a secret meeting. And the shots from this morning landed exactly at this point, right where this region's leadership is based. Whoever shoots at the city hosting the secret channel is shooting at the channel, guys. If the wing of the Revolutionary Guard that denies the conversation is the same one that presses the drone button, the internal message inside Iran has already been given. Here, whoever talks to the Americans comes under fire. That's exactly it. That's the message they just sent during the night. Of course, this is just my theory, right? Built on top of facts that have been published. And I'm going to follow this line of thought in the coming days because it matches exactly what Trump said, right? Trump said there's a secret channel. Suddenly, that secret channel turns out to be in Erbil. And that place gets hit by the Iranians. If you've made it this far, you already understand that the overnight developments basically reshaped the whole day. So leave your like now because tomorrow morning, right, everyone will probably be commenting on these headlines, but without the connection you just got here on the channel. And the connection continues because Iran didn't spend the whole day just denying it. A high-ranking official from the regime published and actually reached out to Reuters news agency to announce a shift in doctrine. This is important, folks. According to him, Iran has decided to change its policy. The defensive stance is out, and in his words, he said this, a fully offensive stance is in. The same official set a deadline of a few weeks for the United States to fully comply with the Memorandum of Understanding. That memorandum is dead. He's giving a deadline, folks. He warned that all sectors of the regime are ready to escalate tensions in the region if the diplomatic route fails. And he concluded by saying that Iran will not keep waiting idly by while the Americans maintain the naval blockade with no end in sight. Remember, the American blockade is still there. Is Trump attacking? No, he's not. For now, at the moment this video is being recorded, it's the 18th, 24 minutes past midnight. There's no attack happening. It might happen from now on. If you're watching this video in the future, we might already be in full-scale war. But at this moment, there's no attack happening over there. But the naval blockade is still going on, okay? So let's break this down, because there are two absurd things in this statement he gave to Reuters. And a third one that should also be taken seriously. The first, the one giving the ultimatum here is the side that's surrounded. Iran has its ports closed, literally, unable to sell oil, with the American Navy right at its doorstep. And he's the one now setting a deadline for the United States. Second, take a look at which document he told the Americans to comply with. The same memorandum that this morning the foreign ministry spokesperson swore never had a deadline and never actually took effect. Memorandum of Understanding. The paper that didn't exist at breakfast has now become a contractual requirement at dinner. And now the important part. The word he used, offensive. This, my friends, is not a figure of speech, okay? It's exactly the same vocabulary that appeared in the investigation for those who watched this morning's video, which was published at dawn with the regime's leadership talking about offensive actions in enemy territory. Do you understand now why you have to connect what comes out here and what comes out later? Because, look, it was revealed at dawn that they changed their military doctrine. And now he comes and says they're going to do exactly that, right? Talking about offensive actions in enemy territory. The president of the Iranian parliament, Kalibafi, reiterated it today. In other words, he said that Iran needs to reach such a high level of deterrence that no one would dare to attack the country anymore. And to finally break out of the cycle of confrontation, truce, and attrition that they've been living in since February. And now listen to what that word means coming from a regime like Iran, right? It's a cornered regime. Deterrence means having a capability, for those who don't know what that is, it's having a capability that makes the enemy or adversary give up even before starting. In other words, that guy over there is really strong. The last time I fought with him, he hit me really hard, I'm not going to hit him again. That's deterrence, okay? That's basically what it is. And in the last 2 days, these voices have multiplied inside Iran. All of them asking for this capability. None. None of these voices saying the exact name of the capability, but saying that we need a deterrence capability. They don't say the name, I'm not going to say it for them, but we know what they're talking about, right guys? I'll note here that on the same day as these statements, the American president thought it was necessary to repeat in his morning post what his number one goal is. And the number one goal has a name. Guys, remember what he said? They will never have nuclear weapons. And to complete the picture of the regime speaking from within, the Iranian Minister of Agriculture made a statement today that's out of this world, in my opinion. He said the following: since the beginning of the war, we haven't used our stock of basic products, food. It hasn't decreased at all. On the contrary, it has grown. Look at this absurd statement. People are starving there, right? Do the math. A country with the sea closed off. It's closed, folks. No exporting barrels, no importing through the port. And the food stock is growing. How is that possible? How does it grow, folks? Either a miracle of multiplication happened, or some party hacks went there to help them, or that number was made up to prevent a rush to the supermarkets. A government that needs to swear it has food is a government afraid of the breadline. And speaking of numbers that don't add up, it's also time for the important segment, the battle of narratives about the same strait. There are 3 accounts of the Strait of Hormuz published in less than 24 hours. Version number 1. The American Secretary of Energy said the following in a video. Iran exports 0 barrels of oil per day. We are moving 8 to 9 million barrels per day through Hormuz. We control the Strait. Version 2. The anchor on Fox News. The Strait is open. We are moving millions of barrels per week, and the price of oil is falling and will continue to fall. Version 3. Tehran. Total control of the Strait, and now with its own agreement with Oman to manage navigation. And then there's a fourth voice that doesn't give interviews, the maritime tracking data. These data show that over the entire weekend, only 13 ships crossed the Strait of Hormuz, and 3 of them on Sunday. 13 ships in 2 days on a route where a fifth of the world's oil used to pass through. The American version and the Iranian version can't both be true at the same time, folks. And the fourth voice suggests that neither side is telling the whole story. On the Iranian side, the fact that 0 barrels were exported matches everything we already know about the blockade. But the 8 to 9 million barrels crossing per day don't match up with 13 ships in 2 days. It doesn't add up. Here's my take on what's happening. The Strait has also become a battleground of statements. Each side publishes numbers that support their own narrative, because the audience that matters isn't you, it's the oil market. And the one who decides this dispute isn't a journalist, not me here, not a spokesperson, it's the price of the barrel. When Trump says on national television that the Strait is open and the price will keep falling, he's talking the price down, he's pushing the price down, right guys? At least he's trying. Every dollar less per barrel is political breathing room bought without firing a missile. But today the market didn't listen to Trump. The price per barrel closed higher. Look guys, check out the price of the barrel right now in real time. $91 price per barrel. This is online, okay? This is in real time, guys. So Trump is saying it's going down. Actually, it's going up. To there. Look at that. 2.89 in the last 24 hours. The price of oil went up. Brent, okay? We have to read the second one here from top to bottom, all right? Brent. This is the oil price that everyone uses as a reference and everyone talks about. All right, guys? All right. And it's already gone up about $10 since the lows at the beginning of the month. When what the president is saying and oil prices don't match, who decides, my friends? It's the barrel. It's the barrel, okay? And following that same logic, he even made a point to deny the report about a lack of food on the aircraft carrier Lincoln as well. You probably read about that. I was on vacation when that came out, so I didn't cover it. Calling it fake news and assuring that the crew is very well taken care of. Nothing can look like wear and tear, not at all, not even the ship's food. Meanwhile, at the other oil choke point, the Axis responded in their own way. The Routens. We're back to the Routens. They fired. Where are the Houthis? Let's put ours here. There you go. Look at that. The war zone here continues, okay, between the Houthis and the army supported by Saudi Arabia. They fired 5 missiles in the Bab el-Mandeb region and claimed to have hit Saudi Arabian military vessels near the port of Moqara. Look, according to them, I saw images, they really hit, guys. They hit the vessels. And Saudi Arabia for now hasn't responded. The leader of the group there, the Houthis, terrorists, right, announced the following. The Bab el-Mandeb Strait is closed to ships. It's closed to Saudi ships for entry and exit. Only for Saudi Arabian ships. The siege for siege equation continues and won't stop. The Saudis have barely responded, practically nothing. We can say they haven't fired anything at them. And the two partners, remember that Saudi Arabia has two partners, okay? From the alliance that was signed there in Mecca, Pakistan and Turkey, they remain absolutely silent, at least for now, while their ally is taking a beating. They're getting hit by drones, missiles, they're being struck, they're being blockaded. The defense alliance doesn't intercept missiles. I already said this here when it was signed. Paper doesn't intercept anything at all. 10 days after the signing, where is Erdogan? The strong one, the powerful one, right? The partner is taking the beating alone while the other two keep watching from the sidelines. And now Israel, because today was also a day of tough messages and in a direction that almost no one expected. Jared Kushner, remember Jared Kushner, Trump's son-in-law? And the top members of the Peace Council spent the whole day in Jerusalem in a long meeting with Netanyahu. And what leaked from the Israeli briefing is that Netanyahu started the conversation by confronting Jared Kushner himself, about the meeting he had with the leadership of the terrorist group Hamas. They met and talked. And he issued a warning. The selective operations against terrorists in Gaza will continue. This was Netanyahu speaking. But at the end of the day, it showed that their conversation also demanded something, right? Something worked there. The official statement from the cabinet announced the creation of 2 working teams with the council. 2 Israeli teams that will work with the newly created council. The first one is responsible for the disarmament and demilitarization of the Strip. And it explicitly said this would happen quickly and ends before any reconstruction work begins in the Gaza Strip. First, hand over your weapons. The second team is responsible for sanitation, clean water, and public health, which is a problem on both sides of the fence, right? Both on the Israeli side and on the Gaza side. And at night, one of the heads of the Peace Council himself summarized the meeting for a Gulf broadcaster, right? Al Jazeera, with phrases that put to rest the pressure that was here the day before. A lot of people saying that things went wrong. Netanyahu was pressured and nothing worked. Just listen to what he said, folks. That's why I say, don't expect much, okay? Don't rush to believe the news from those people who spread things based on nothing. The meeting with Netanyahu, he said the following. The meeting with Netanyahu was long and it was reported on Al Jazeera. Okay, it wasn't reported here in Israel. It was long, deep, and very productive. The Israelis are going to give the roadmap a chance. And now the ball is in Hamas's court. It was agreed that the Israeli forces will not be repositioned outside the Gaza Strip until the complete disarmament of Hamas. In other words, they will remain inside the yellow zone. They will stay within this strip here. In this case, it's not yellow, it's purple, right? But we know this as the yellow line. Light and heavy weapons, as well as tunnels, will be dismantled so that they can never be used again, and Israel reserves the right to self-defense and the right to act if Hamas returns to terrorism or rearms. Compare that, my friends, end quote, he finished. Compare that with the weekend. The day before yesterday, 8 foreign ministers from 8 countries were blaming Israel for blocking everything. And today, the body that manages the plan signed off on Netanyahu's from Israel proposal point by point. First, all the weapons and all the tunnels, then the rest. We leave the Gaza Strip after you do your part. And the terrorist group there, Hamas, you know who they rush to praise? Trump. And in an interview, the President of the United States had said that Israel didn't need to strike Gaza anymore because Hamas agreed to hand over their weapons. He said it, Trump. The spokesperson for Hamas praised the president and called for pressure on Israel. They applauded the show of force. And they completely ignored the document. Because in the document from the same day, it says that the one who needs to act is not Israel, it's Hamas. Right? Hamas needs to be the one to act before anything else. And now let's move on. We're done with this topic. Let's go to the topic I promised at the beginning of the live stream, which has been circulating since late afternoon, mainly on Telegram channels. There's probably already a video on YouTube of someone talking about this. There probably is. I don't know who made the video, okay? Someone must have made it. If you haven't done it yet, watch the live stream and don't do anything foolish. Pay close attention. It's already circulating on Telegram. It's already going around on the leftist channels, first in Arabic, then it came out in Hebrew, the following bombshell. The British newspaper The Telegraph reportedly revealed that Trump is considering a nuclear attack against Iran as the agreement ends. That is, the Memorandum of Understanding that just ended. He is said to have thought about attacking Iran with nuclear weapons. Headline, my friend, this big. On the day, the memorandum really died when it ended. It's like pouring gasoline on the fire. So I stopped everything, like I said, and I went after this article. And here the story gets more interesting than I expected. Because this time the link is real. This link exists. The page really exists on the Telegraph's website, published today at 5:38 p.m. London time, okay? And that's exactly the headline. But there's something in the headline that nobody shared, right? That nobody noticed. The headline has quotation marks. It says, Trump considers nuclear attack on Iran, with quotation marks. And quotation marks in big newspaper headlines mean one thing, guys. Just one thing. That's what someone said. It's not what we've confirmed, okay? Now, open the page and see what it really is. Don't just read the headline. The headline doesn't say anything, guys. There's no news report in it. It's a podcast episode description. A daily show that the Telegraph does about this war. 2 hosts talking, and the text on the page itself clearly says what they're going to talk about. They're going to discuss why the claim by an American politician, a politician from the United States, Marjorie Taylor, okay, about the bomb. It might be less absurd than it seems at first glance. You're hearing the following, folks. A former congresswoman, okay, former congresswoman, the same one who posted on social media without any document, without a source, with a name, without any detail at all, she claimed that the US authorities in Washington was discussing the use of a nuclear weapon against Iran. The White House didn't comment on any of this at all. No American official confirmed any change in the United States nuclear stance. In other words, the Telegraph didn't provide any news source, it didn't provide any document, and didn't reveal any leak. They just took her statement and threw it out there, folks. That's exactly what they did. And then the snowball, my friends, rolled down the mountain like that, okay? First, there was the post from this former congresswoman. Then the Russian state network, RT, which turned it into a headline, right? It became a headline, made it huge. Washington discusses a nuclear attack on Iran. And then the American conspiracy websites and the leftists all over the world. And finally, the newspaper podcast, right? Discussing this topic. At some point during this downward spiral, someone removed the quotation marks, which I'm talking about from the beginning. Someone took out those quotation marks, and it became a video. The quotation marks disappeared, the source disappeared. Trump considers. In quotation marks, it became The Telegraph revealed. A podcast debate became a world exclusive, guys. It turned into a worldwide exclusive about information that doesn't exist. And this is the rule I want you to take with you for life, because it's more useful than today's news. When the headline comes in quotation marks, guys, the right question isn't what's written in it, it's who said it. Now, I'm going to be fair to the Telegraph too, because there's a serious part in this episode, and I take that part seriously. They point out the target by name, the mountain of the pickaxe. Remember that mountain? So, in Persian, right? That's what we call it. That's how it's translated from Persian, guys. It's the mountain of the pickaxe. That's the translation. Whether you like it or not, this isn't a theory, okay? It's an Iranian nuclear facility buried at least 100 meters deep inside a mountain about 1.5 kilometers south of Natanz. Inspectors from the UN Atomic Agency have never set foot in that place. No one from the outside knows what's inside, and it's deeper than Fordo, that other facility. The one the Americans penetrated with a giant bomb last year. Fordo is about 80 or 90 meters deep. This one is even deeper. According to some analysts, over 100 meters. Others say it's 150 meters down. Okay, so it's really far, even deeper, much deeper. And the rock there is harder, guys, harder. The deeper it is, the worse it gets. It was never attacked, not during the 12-day war, nor in July of last year, not even in this war that's been going on for almost 6 months. And Trump himself has already said out loud in the Oval Office that Iran may have taken centrifuges there, at a depth that challenges even the heaviest weapon in the American arsenal. So this issue has a physical address. Okay? And here comes my brief take on it. You can also freely disagree with it. It's exactly because of this mountain that the talk about the nuclear bomb never goes away. Not because someone decided to use it, but because there's a target that maybe regular weapons can't reach. But the nuclear weapon also won't reach it. You need to detonate it inside the mountain. And getting there is much more complicated, right, guys? Dropping one on top also won't solve any problem. And when a target like this exists, there will always be people asking what would solve this problem. It's legitimate for everyone to ask. But turning the question into a headline, as if a decision has been made, is something else. So the verdict here is this. There's a question published by a reputable newspaper, and there's an unproven allegation from a politician, an ex-congresswoman who broke with the government, okay? What doesn't exist is a news story. There's no document, no named official, no confirmation from anyone, and there's public record pointing in the opposite direction. In April, when this same nuclear bomb rumor came up, the White House officially denied any plan to use nuclear weapons against Iran. So it's published there, it has a date, and there are people accountable for it. It's serious, guys, and just look at who this rumor really serves. It serves the regime, which gets free proof of the supposed American or Trump delusions and the victim narrative. It also serves Moscow, which gets the West painted as out of control. And it serves everyone who profits from panic, because fear affects prices. And you already know what I think about those who make money with every swing in oil prices. I'll finish here with today's Hebrew word, and today it shows itself, guys. And that word is sod. S-O-D, so you can read it easily. Sod. That's how you pronounce secret. And in the Middle East, a secret is never just sod, a hidden piece of information. It's a tool, and everyone uses it the way they want. Whoever announces the secret wants pressure. Whoever denies the secret wants time. And whoever invents the secret wants panic. Your job and mine is to know how to tell which is which, folks. This is our job. And I'm still here, live. You already know where I'm coming to you from. From the mountains of Judea. Putting the pieces together, one by one, in a way that the mainstream media doesn't do for you and actually never will. So subscribe, turn on the notification bell, share, and send it to your family group, to the lefty group, because you probably have a little group there that they added you to, right? To sell you political ads from the lefty crowd. Probably. So send it to that group too, so they can get hit with it too. Guys, smash that like button. Thanks, Jose, for the reminder. There are 2,634 likes and only 4 dislikes. Lefty crowd, smash that dislike button. And friends of the channel here, hit yours now before you forget to do it at the end of the live, guys. But does the mountain have doors? Of course there are doors to the mountain. Obviously there are doors. There must be several ways to enter that mountain. But you need to be there to make it happen. You need to throw this in there to make it happen. It's not just one door. There are containment doors too, guys. There are containment doors to withstand any kind of, not the explosion itself, but the shockwave. Let's say you blow up the first door there. The second door will hold back the shockwave from the first explosion. That's how they build these mountain facilities. These doors have already appeared in videos, in Iran's own videos. It's exactly the door that I have. Here at home, which is in my room. I'm recording here from my room, from the bunker here at home. You can see it here, look. This is the air filter intake, okay? We turn this on here when we need the air filter, and over here we have the door. This door, it's also designed to withstand the shockwave from an explosion. The same thing exists inside those mountains, but much bigger and much better, absolutely, for sure. Thank you, Cristiano, for the super sticker. Good evening, David Shalom. It's great to see you back. Thanks, Alzemir. Thank you for the super sticker. Guys, if you want to support the channel in any way, you can send a super sticker. Okay? You can do that. It really helps the channel a lot. I'm not sponsored by Qatar or the United Arab Emirates or the United States. Someone wrote that in the comments. You disappeared. Someone paid you to stop talking. Someone is paying you really well to keep your mouth shut. Something like that. No, guys, I don't have any sponsorship from anyone. You are my sponsor. I'm not even selling anything in this video. I don't sell anything at all on the channel because you are the only sponsor. Whether it's through super stick, super like, and all those things that exist on this YouTube platform, or down here, there's also Pix. For those who always ask, here it is. This is the Pix key. That's my email, guys. Hugs to all my friends from Israel. And see you tomorrow at the same time in the next live with more information. If anything happens tonight, I'll come back here and bring it to you in real time. Because the American planes are still here. Look at the number of refueling planes right now. This is live, guys, live. This is happening now. Will we finally have an American response here in this region tonight? The movement there shows that something is going on, or maybe they're training, right, for the day when this really happens. Remember, they've been here for a long time. Okay, they've already been here for about an hour and a half. And here from Israel, from down here, I saw 4. Then another 4, then another 4 taking off, who are going to join these. They should be almost at their destination. They should get there around 1:30 in the morning, more or less Israel time. So in other words, in about an hour from now, that's the travel time. On average, between Israel and the United Arab Emirates, it's a 3-hour trip, depending on the route they take. 3 hours, 3.5 hours. So Bahrain is 2 hours and 50 minutes. 2 hours and 40 minutes. More refueling planes should be arriving in the region by now. So is tonight shaping up to be a big night? If anything serious happens, I'll be back at any moment, live from Israel, straight from the source, right where everything is happening. A hug to all my friends in Israel, and see you on the next live stream.